Give us your perspective on Dak's return. So much talk about limitations, playing to the defense. Let's keep the Cooper Rush game plan. What's your overall take on Dak's return, Babe?
Well, let's go with the assumption that he's going to be, I'm going to say 100% in his ability to grip the ball, throw the ball, right? We know he probably won't be 100%, but I don't think really a whole lot is going to change in terms of, what we saw schematically. They didn't change a bunch for Cooper Rush, and I don't think it'll change for Dak. I think the one thing that you have to be cognizant of, I think he'll be going shotgun a little bit more than normal because that thumb is going to take a pounding if you're under center and the ball keeps, every time it hits it, he's going to give it a owie. And my biggest fear is that the Cowboy fan says, well, okay, Dak's back. Here comes 10 wins in a row. And that would be the fear. And I don't think the players are of that philosophy. You just hope they're not. Everybody's excited about being Dak, right? Teammates, receivers, everybody's excited about getting your quarterback back. But you can't take the notion that, okay, well, here's Dak. Okay, we can take a deep breath. Everything's good. We saw what happened in the first game, right? They had Dak, and that was ugly. Mm-hmm. So the notion that, well, we got Detroit and Dak's back, and I guess they're going to make us play the game, but I don't even know what the line is. What's the line, Degenerate?
7.
7. Okay. Yeah, we're favored, and we'll just kind of show up, and by 3 o'clock, we'll have another win in our pocket. If they take that attitude, they'll be in for a long day.
Yeah, I mean, because, we can look back and say everything's going to be fine, but they did just score 3 points in 3 quarters. But, I mean, a lot of that had to do, I think, with no preseason and a lack of, only having one receiver. He's got Gallup back. He didn't have Gallup in week 1.
Oh, yeah, you can make some arguments for it being better. Tyler Smith is 6 games down the road now. That was his first NFL game, and as we all know, he didn't really work a whole bunch at left tackle, so he's getting better. Problem is, the other teams typically are getting better too. Now, Detroit had a clunker against New England. I actually went back and watched, and just all those little things that you see. At first, you say, hey, 29-0, they weren't even in that game, and they weren't by the score. You look, they would go for it on 4th and 1 from their own 35 or something. They don't get that. They throw an interception at the goal line. It's a first down interception, so that should never happen. Does, though. Then they're going to go kick a field goal on their 3rd possession. Goff gets sacked, knocks them out of field goal range. So a whole bunch of things happened in that game. The other games, they were relatively competitive, and as we know, they've been scoring a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. Babe, what was your take in week 1 on Dak's decision-making? Was he processing things slower than you had seen in the past?
I just thought Tampa Bay did a really great job on their coverages. Now you could say, well, everybody could do a good job on coverages, but I thought Tampa Bay was just exceptional in not only their scheme, but also being able to have the personnel to run it. I mean, they locked on to guys. Dak wasn't as sharp as he needed to be, but there was not a lot of margin for error in that game in terms of where to put the football. And I always say, hey, easy to play from 200 feet in the air, and it's easy for me to play on Monday, right? I get the all 22. I can slow it down. I can say, okay, there's the guy. But when you're on that field, I thought Tampa did a great job of kind of showing one thing and then just locking down the receivers. But that was a fear I had going in. These receivers were not going to be able to separate against some of these teams. And that's exactly what happened in that game.
The great Babe Laufenberg every Thursday at this time here on Shan and RJ. I want to ask you about the rise and the fall of the number 1 quarterback in Jared Goff, who you referenced. Sonny
re-rise. Rise, fall, re-rise.
Is it a re-rise? So your thoughts on Goff coming out, the rise with the Rams, the new school offense, and then all of a sudden Sean McVay kicks him to the curb with the overall number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's been an interesting career for him to this point, and obviously his final chapter has not been written, but he did. They went to the Super Bowl, obviously, with him. He is the number 1 pick. He was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. I mean, he can really throw it. I remember I was at, in person, the game where it was a Thursday night game, and the Rams played Minnesota, and Goff threw 5 touchdown passes in that game, and they weren't these Patrick Mahomes in the hand shovel it to the guy.
Right.
That's tackle going in from a yard out. He made 5 throws that if you just made 2 of these throws in a game as an NFL quarterback, you would have said, wow, those were 2 spectacular throws I just made. He made about 10 of them where you just said, wow. And, I mean, so impressive throwing the ball. Obviously, his career has taken a little hit. I see it a little bit, too, like Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, the Rams went to a Super Bowl with Goff, and they clearly soured on him. Sean McVay soured on him. In the same way that Garoppolo keeps winning in San Francisco, as we all know, and they can't get rid of him fast enough. So I see a little bit with that Goff. But, no, I mean, I see a really talented guy, like all of them. He's going to make a mistake here and there, right? You're not going to make the great decision. But I would be very wary of him. Where they have been hurt, and again, they're scoring a ton of points and all that stuff. You know, their receivers, they took Jameson Williams, tore his ACL in the national championship, but they took him at 12. Alabama's wide receiver, he hasn't come back yet. DJ Chark, who they signed as a free agent, big money free agent from Jacksonville, he's been hurt, missed the Seattle game, missed the New England game. So this offense could really get going once they get some of these guys back. Their offensive line is very good now. I will say that. They can run the ball. They're averaging over 5 yards a run. So I think a lot of us look at Dallas's defense and say, how would we attack it? Well, I'd attack it running the ball, and I could see Detroit doing just that.
Babe, you and I have Washington, D.C. ties. Your overall thoughts on this whole Dan Snyder mess?
Yeah, were you a fan of the Bambino up there, RJ? Let me put your feet to the fire. Were you even old enough? 1983, 1984, 1985?
No, I mean, I was born in 79.
Were you asking Choppy or me?
I'm sorry, Sean. Did I say RJ? I'm sorry.
When you say the Bambino to me, I'm like, wait a second,
Babe Ruth? No, I started off with Mark Rippon, Babe. My apologies.
You did? Okay. Well, I was with Rip for a little bit. But anyway, yeah, so you were up there.
Yeah.
But I was drafted there 1983 and was there for about 3.5 years. And
yeah, I was born 81.
81. Okay, well, I was old enough to have a Bambino diaper on you or something, but I'm going to talk to your parents.
Yeah, my dad had me watching cricket, not football, but anyway.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, yeah, but you could not – there was no way you could screw this up, right?
No.
You could put a 13-year-old in charge of the team, and they couldn't have screwed it up the way it was. I mean, this place they were crazy about their Washington football and had been for a long time. This isn't a situation where they jumped up one year, won a Super Bowl, and everybody jumps on a bandwagon. These were lifelong fans. You could not get a season ticket. The waiting list was like 50,000 people. They finally kind of dropped it because they realized, you know, you'd have to be in the year 30, 35 before 2 tickets came available. I mean, literally 2 to 4 tickets, season tickets a year would become available. And they were contested. Season tickets were contested in wills. They were contested in divorces. I mean, it was like, you can have the house, you can have the car, you can even have the kids if you want them, but you're not getting my season tickets.
Yeah.
That's how the fan base was and how strong it was. And to see it now, to go up there, it's basically a half-full stadium, and they're tarping seats. But it's a mess they brought on themselves. It's an organizational mess. When you look at it, you can't point to any one thing, and I mean anything, and say, well, they got that right. I mean, they can't build a new stadium. At one point, both Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia were in the fight to help build them a new stadium. Now they've all said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. They can't get a stadium built.
Right. It's crazy. It's insane. Mm-hmm. I mean, RFK was like our Madison Square Garden. It really
huge.
was. And the place was rocking, and that man has sucked everything out of it.
I remember at RFK, so obviously I played there early, now I'm with the Cowboys. We're leaving RFK, Dallas Cowboys now, we're on the bus. DJ, Daryl Johnston, the Moose, is sitting next to me, and he said, man, that place is loud. That just gets crazy. And I said, yeah, and it holds 55,000 people.
Yeah.
And DJ said, oh, no, it's 80. It's 80. And I said, no, DJ, it holds 55,000. So we get into this, I don't want to say fight, but DJ was adamant that it held 80,000 people. There's no way I said, okay. DJ was bigger than me. So I said, okay, I think you're right, 80,000. But that place was rocking.